Okay. So then so we've got debt capital, we've got equity capital, two buckets of money that we could choose from to fund the growth of our business. How do we determine the appropriate mix? How do we determine which one we might want to go for? Well, one, I would suggest typically you want a mix of the two. Very few companies rely upon all debt or all equity. Usually it's a mix of the two. 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, whatever it might be. Couple factors that you would want to consider in making this decision about the mix of capital. One would be cost. How much will the money cost? Again, I've suggested for a typical bank loan, your interest rate is going to be around 6%. Interest rates are going up slightly, but it's been about 6% for a traditional bank loan. Versus equity capital, well, we know if someone invests in your company, you're not obliged normally to pay them a certain return, but there is an expectation of a return, right? So if Diamela decides that she wants to invest in my company, I'm not going to guarantee her 6% return or 8% return normally, but she's going to put money into my company just expecting to get a pretty good return. The average expected return for an investor in a small business is 20% or higher. 20% or higher. So I would use that as a cost of capital. If somebody invests in your company, you can assume the cost of that money is going to be 20% or higher because that's the return that they expect. So if you compare those two, debt 6%, equity 20%, clearly on average, borrowing money is less expensive than someone investing in your company. So cost is a factor. Second factor is risk. How risky is this source of capital? Well, let's start with a bank loan. Julie, if you're the bank and you offer me a bank loan, what's the risk there for me as a business owner? If I borrow money from your bank, what's the risk?
That I can't pay it back.
Yeah, because when I borrow money from a bank, I sign a contract. I sign a loan document. Not only do I promise to pay the money back, I have to pay the money back, right? With a bank loan, I've got to pay that money back. And so the risk with borrowing money is you got to pay that money back. Whether you're making money or not, you've signed a document, legal document that says, I will pay this money back. If you compare that to equity capital, if someone invests money in your company, while there's an expectation of return, typically there's no guarantee of a return. So if Julie invests money in my company, while she'd like to get a 20, 30, 40% return, there's no guarantee. So that's why borrowing money is considered to be riskier than taking investment. Because when you borrow money, you have to pay it back. So debt capital, less expensive, more risk. So as we're comparing the two, borrowing money, less expensive, and that just makes sense that there would be an inverse relationship between the cost of the money and the inherent risk in that same money. Inverse relationship.